All right, hello everybody. Welcome back. Today we are talking about Philip K. Dick's Blade Runner. Now, this is a book that was written back in 1968. That's when the copyright is on this thing, at least. And, or better yet, we should call it Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Later, a movie was made called Blade Runner based off of it, and now at least this printing of this book has the title Blade Runner in big words, just for name recognition, gets more sales. But it does have the original title up here on the top as well. Don't worry about that. So, where do we begin? First and foremost, let's talk about concept. This book is one of these original, if not the original, what they call cyberpunk books. The genre didn't even exist yet, and Earth is, following World War III, Earth is devastated. The Earth is covered in radiation and dust, and very few people are left alive. As far as we know, though, the countries still exist. America still exists. Russia still exists, although I do believe it's referred to as the Soviets in this book. Obviously, the Cold War hasn't ended. They had no reason to believe there would be a Russian Federation later on. This book takes place actually in 2021. It's a good time to be reading this book because, well, we're in 2021. How does the science of the cyborgs, not cyborgs, how does the science of the androids and artificial life hold up today? What is different in this science fiction novel compared to today's technology of 2021? Well, first and foremost, the very first thing we see in this book is the existence of technology that can alter human mood. You basically have this little console, and you can, they refer to it as dialing, as they did back then. And so you're going to dial on this console, put in basically a number, and that number represents a specific mood. So hopeless, despair, happiness, not being tired, anything you can dial in. It's called a mood box, I believe, and you can change your mood. That's the first thing we see, is the alteration of human feeling through technology. Another aspect of this world, they do have space colonies, they have people living on Mars, so that's one thing. But there's also a religion called Mercerism, and the idea is that there was so much tragedy that took place on the planet through World War III that this religion develops around the idea of human empathy, and sharing your mood with others, I guess. It seems you can basically fuse with this godlike entity called Wilbur Mercer, and you can make it to where everybody in your apartment building can feel the mood you're feeling somehow. It's kind of interesting. One of the big themes here is human empathy. What does it mean to be human? And Philip K. Dick kind of explores this by pairing the ideas of empathy along with the development of android technology. So artificial, humanoid, robotic entities. So these are completely synthetic. This is why they are androids. They are totally synthetic, created by man. However, they appear human. They think, they have intelligence. They're essentially AIs, right? And they have brain cores. They have the brain models are slowly increasing in intelligence, I suppose is the best way to say it. The technology for androids is getting better as time progresses. And so the plot here is the main character, Rick Deckard. He is a bounty hunter, and his job is to capture and kill illegal androids. Typically they escape from Mars, so technically they're aliens. So he basically goes around killing illegal aliens as a bounty hunter. And one of the things they have to do to prove these people are androids, they use an empathy test. And the idea is that any given human should easily be able to pass this empathy test. And they're like marking reactions and like the eyes and all sorts of things. But what the book actually ends up discovering is that as this android technology improves, the line between human and android is becoming gray. There are some humans who are less intelligent than these androids. The androids are generally seen as more intelligent than humans. And as far as empathy levels are concerned, there are humans with levels of empathy lower that are responding more like the androids might. And so what kind of metric do you use to actually, accurately tell the difference between an android and a human? The technology is becoming so advanced that it's hard to tell. And then again, with Rick, his internal battle is that he himself starts to feel empathy for androids. He starts to view them as human, even to the point where he engages in sexual relations with an android. Really, what we are getting into here is, like I said at the beginning, what does it mean to be human? Technology becomes so good, you can't really tell the difference between something that's electrical and something that's biological. That is, again, supported by the existence of electronic animals, because there's so much radioactivity, radiation, dust. Basically, all non-human life is dead in the wild. You can't ever really find animals. You might find insects, but maybe not. And so there are animals that are made of, they're machines, and humans who are less intelligent than average, like low IQ individuals in this book at least, they can't really tell the difference between animals that are real and those that are fake, because they are so authentic. And even the main character himself, to be fair, he is, at his wit's end by the end of this. He's had a long day, you should say. Even by the end, he cannot actually tell the difference between alive and electrical and these animals. So not only is it in the androids, but the animals seem very real as well. Let's go into character. Are these characters actually interesting? Are they good? They're not bad by any means as far as I'm concerned. Some of them don't play a huge role. They're just there. But they don't really feel fake. They kind of just feel like very blunt, normal people. There's not huge amounts of personality pushing through, but not everybody in real life has huge amounts of personality pushing through. I felt like of the very important characters, the ones who needed personality had it, and the ones who didn't need to be so, powerful were more just, they were there, they were playing their role. They felt like a person, but they didn't need to stand out by any means. And Rick as a character, as a main character, he honestly doesn't stand out too much. He has an interesting kind of lens to see through as a bounty hunter, and his inner conflict about the androids is interesting to read. But he isn't brimming with personality either. Probably the best way to sum it up is these characters are very functional. It's not about necessarily the character-driven storyline by any means. It's about exploring the theme and the technology, as classic sci-fi tends to do. And I think it does a great job of it. I think it's a very compelling read. It's a very quick read, by the way. It's only like 61,000 words. This book here is only a little over 200 pages. So you can get through it in a day if you have the time to read that much. But it's a very quick read. It's a very interesting read as well. As someone who's not very versed in sci-fi literature, I mean, I've seen much more sci-fi in cinema than in literature personally, but I think this was really a great introduction to classic hard sci-fi. And I'm looking into delving into this a lot more in the future. On my list is something like Altered Carbon is something I want to look at. I like cyberpunk as a genre. I kind of want to dive into more like things involving like cyborg technology. I think that's something that's very interesting. I'm not as interested in the computer, style of like hacking cyberpunk sort of subgenre within the subgenre. I'd want something more along the lines of cyborgs and androids because I just think that's cool personally. Yeah, that's really all my thoughts on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I guess we'll throw this in here as well. One of the weird things that is the book is showing its age, although the technology doesn't hold up to what we're at in 2021. That's one thing. But where it really shows its age is through the lens of the main character, Rick. And I think the other, male points of view we see, the only descriptions we get of the women in this book is based around their breasts. The first description, we don't see how they behave really. It's, oh, she has high, small breasts that bounce. I feel like something similar along those lines of description is used at least 3 times throughout this book. And then Rick, of course, he isn't exactly a loyal husband, I feel like. I think Rick would probably divorce his wife if a suitable woman, in his, that he was attracted to, I should say, came along. He doesn't really seem to feel much for his wife. So, it sort of rubbed me the wrong way just a little bit. I wasn't, totally put off the book by any means. I still really enjoyed this book, but I would think a lot of readers would not enjoy that in today's context, and it's certainly something I wouldn't write or describe my women with in my writing. But yeah, that's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. And I will see you guys next time in the next story I review. So I'll see you guys next time. Remember to like and subscribe. Maybe we'll be going over some of George Martin's short stories or something else. Who knows? We'll see. Stay tuned.